Well, and certainly throughout the beginning of the SBs, we've been hearing constantly from the parties the need for non-state actors to really be meaningfully engaged, and how critical it is for them to help ensure that we're able to meet the goal of keeping warming to 1.5 degrees. And we really see this as a way that RINGOs and our RINGO members are critical to help raising this ambition. First, RINGO has taken a very firm stand that the sound science of the IPCC 1.5 report should be and should form the basis of policymaking, including helping parties and enhancing their NDCs. We said this both in our statement earlier this week at the opening of the SBs, but also at the high-level statement that we made at COP24.
And I should preface that RINGO as an organization, as a constituency, is different than the other 8. RINGO stands for Research and Independent NGOs, and so one of the reasons we took this stance on the 1.5C report in our opening statement is because normally we do not advocate for positions. We're an organization of researchers and teachers, but we do advocate for good process and sound science. So with that in mind, what I wanted to do next is to complement what Beth was just describing in terms of RINGO's mission for increasing ambition with a couple of examples from individual RINGO members. So for example, we have individual members who are researchers who work to translate their findings into practice, and they do it in different ways. We all know here that Article 6 is not only a big issue for COP25, but getting ready for it here at SB 50. So we have several organizations who specialize in that area and are actively advising governments on how to negotiate in a way that enhances their agenda. We also have researchers in RINGOs who are part of the IPCC process, building on their own research and authoring different reports. We have another member that is helping, again, a RINGO member to develop new approaches for cities looking to adapt their infrastructure to climate change and to manage climate change in more extreme conditions. And then the last thing I'd like to point out is so many of our RINGOs work locally.
Well, certainly RINGOs consider education and public awareness really critical to raising ambition and to avoiding the most catastrophic impacts of climate change. And we think about education in multiple contexts. We think about education of our students, but we also think about education of fellow delegates, of fellow RINGO members, and also of the communities within which we reside. And we think about how are we being educators in all of those contexts. Speaking about education for our fellow researchers, one of the things we as RINGOs did prior to COP24 was preparing a webinar to help our fellow RINGOs understand the processes. We often see that researchers are lost the first day or two, and we want them to be able to engage immediately and to see how and where their research and their work might fit. So we prepared a webinar to help orient our fellow constituency members prior to attending. Other examples highlighting how individual RINGOs are working to help within the process in this context. One member prepares toolkits for negotiators and government officials to help connect them with the latest climate findings. And building on that, that particular member is also working to prepare a people's toolkit based on personal actions guided by the IPCC special report at 1.5 degrees.
I have a few more examples to illustrate, probably more on the teaching side. People see the R in RINGO and assume we're all about producing research, but of course, many researchers are also professors who teach. So what we've seen is that individual RINGO members have worked with various partners to develop teaching materials. So for example, we have a member that has been supporting the UNFCCC's CGE's regional hands-on training workshop. So another one I'd love to underscore, and I think it starts as maybe even back at COP20, we had various members in RINGO who wanted to reach out to the host countries' universities to do more teaching. So at the space, the zone for that in Lima, we had members partnering with local universities both to do essentially teach-ins, but in addition to help those local universities develop climate change curriculum, and that's across the scale from the hard sciences to the soft sciences. And finally, the last example I want to point out is that RINGOs as individuals have worked together and separately in usually their home or local institutions to create curriculum, both at the primary school level as well as the secondary and post-secondary, again, on that climate change continuum, both from the hard sciences to the soft sciences.